Now, this whole Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion situation, it's getting uglier by the day. And right now, it's not looking good for Megan. Every new update that drops feels like another crack in the foundation. In just the last week or so, Tory done picked up more motion on this appeal than he'd had since the whole thing started. Like, real talk, it's the most traction he's seen since the gavel dropped. That legal engine finally sounded like it want to turn over. And Megan? Yeah, she looking real uneasy after the kind of week Tory just had. But look, I ain't here to play judge or jury. I'm not retrialing the whole case. That's for the courts. I'm just here to break down what's really going on. I'm just here to lay out what's been going on for the past week and a half. No bias, just the facts and the shifts that's happening behind the scenes. So Megan jumped on TikTok today basically begging Tory to leave her alone. She typed up this long message saying, "At what point y'all gonna stop making me relive getting shot by Tory? When y'all gonna stop lying? How much y'all getting paid to keep harassing me?" She even went on to say, "One minute folks say she wasn't shot. Now they letting Tory spin it like, yeah, she got hit, but it wasn't me. Oh, okay. So now we playing the Gaslight Olympics." Megan posted that right after Tory's team held a press conference where they said Kelsey, who was in the car that night, found out that Megan was messing with Tory behind her back. They argued, and Kelsey's own bodyguard testified to the fact that Kelsey was the one who admitted to her husband on the phone that she shot Meg, not Tory.
No DNA, no fingerprints, missing bullet fragments. Despite those concerns, rapper Tory Lanez, whose legal name is Daystar Peterson, was convicted in connection to the 2020 shooting of fellow artist Megan Thee Stallion in the Hollywood Hills, which left her with injuries to her feet. Tory Lanez was sentenced to 10 years, a full decade behind bars. To this day, Mr. Peterson, Tory Lanez, maintains his innocence, insisting he never fired the gun. Now, new evidence and claims are surfacing, including from a witness whose account contradicts key parts of Megan Thee Stallion's version of events that night and appears to support Tory Lanez's defense.
Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was a witness to the conversation Ms. Harris had where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times. In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun.
Now that bodyguard's testimony, it don't move the needle by itself. If you already think Tory did it, you'll ignore it. If you think he didn't, it just backs your stance. But when you stack it with everything else that's coming out, now it's looking like enough to take back in front of a judge. Maybe get his time reduced or the case thrown out altogether. That bodyguard statement, it was enough to convince U.S. Congresswoman Paulina that Tory might be innocent. Now she's publicly backing him, and that's the part that shook the room. Megan and Rock Nation been brushing off Tory's team holding pressers and yelling innocence for years. But a sitting politician taking up his case? That's a real shift. That's why Megan's post sounded panicked. She know this ain't just blog drama no more. Now to be fair, Megan did make a solid point. Folks been switching the narrative every other day. First she supposedly stepped on glass, then she was shot. Now it's Kelsey, then it's Tory again. At some point, people gotta pick a lane. Either she lied or she was shot. Can't be both. Megan clapped back, saying Tory never even denied it in court and that she has no reason to lie on him. She also reminded folks that at the time, Tory was the bigger artist, so the clout chasing angle never really made sense. Her tone might come off cocky now, but back then, the roles were reversed. She wrapped it by calling him a demon and begging to be left alone. Said she was tired of reliving this every week. Now, even if you support Megan, you also have to realize that her telling Tory to leave her alone is a little bit hypocritical. Back in December 2024, nobody was talking about this case whatsoever. The blogs were quiet, no new headlines, and the whole situation had cooled off. But it was Megan who brought it back into the spotlight. Megan put the case back in the headlines herself when she filed a restraining order against Tory, who was already locked up. And that just so happened to be the same week she had a new single dropping. So folks started accusing her of using the moment for promo. People felt like she was using the Tory situation to push her single, especially since she already said she was done talking about it. So filing a restraining order on a man serving 10 years felt wild to a lot of folks. It felt like overkill. You can't be saying leave me alone while you're the one bringing it back to the spotlight. Her team was sending the restraining order to blogs, making sure it made the rounds. So yeah, you can't play both sides, girl. Either you're using the situation to push new music or you're not. You can't flip the switch whenever it's convenient. So U.S. Congresswoman Paulina hopped on Twitter and said they got compelling evidence proving Tory's innocence, and it's dropping within 36 hours. But the part that shook folks? She warned that anybody who helped push false evidence or rushed to lock him up needs to be ready to face consequences. That's not a blogger talking, that's a politician. Now she's asking the governor to review the case and even tagged him, calling for a pardon. I see why Megan's panicking. This ain't internet smoke no more. It's political now. And she didn't stop there. She broke down that Tories filed a direct appeal, a habeas petition, and a successive habeas. All of it got consolidated by the California Court of Appeals, and now a panel has been seated for arguments. She said plain and clear, this case is far from over, and this conviction raises real constitutional issues. First, 6th, and 14th Amendment type concerns. Now, whether she's doing this out of principle or pushing some political angle, we don't know. But either way, it's working in Tory's favor and looking bad for Megan, especially if more politicians line up behind him. If this turns into 10, 15, 20 lawmakers riding with Tory, that's a whole different type of pressure. I don't know if it's the lawyers, the lobbyists, or a bag getting moved, but whatever it is, it's chess, and it's looking like a brilliant play. Now it's looking like Megan's not just worried about Tory getting out. She's worried about what might come to light if that Congresswoman starts digging. One big question remains, Tory getting stabbed. Now his team didn't flat out blame Megan, but they definitely pointed folks in that direction without saying it directly. They're hinting heavy, and it's clear they think there's a lot more to the story than what's been presented.
Until proven guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt. The timing of these events raised disturbing questions to me, and I think they all should to you as well. After over 2 years in prison without incident, Tory was stabbed 14 times just days after a major national news outlet reached out to Megan Pete's team, Kelsey Harris, and former DA George Gascon about a story on new evidence in this case. You don't have to believe in conspiracies to see the pattern. When evidence was about to come to light, Tory was nearly killed. So let's stop pretending this is complicated. Let's stop treating this like some cultural war flashpoint. This is about a man, a father, a son, Daystar Peterson, who has sat in a prison cell for over a year based on a case that wouldn't pass the smell test in any honest courtroom. The prison system can no longer guarantee his safety, and that alone should be grounds for immediate action. But combine that with the overwhelming evidence of a botched investigation, and this becomes not just a legal issue, but a morale emergency. Tory Lanez deserves a new trial. He deserves due process. He deserves a pardon.
Now, when folks say Megan's team, they're really talking about Rock Nation, and specifically, Desiree Perez. She's very powerful in the industry, with cartel ties in her past and a reputation for making one phone call and moving millions without it even being part of a deal. People fear her influence. So when Tory's camp said they had new evidence, and then he gets stabbed the next day by someone he never even had beef with, that raised eyebrows. His team's implying that Megan's side might have had something to do with it. And with the Congresswoman now in the mix, the pressure to get answers is only rising. But hey, if you made it this far, click the left side of your screen to see why Young Thug just can't let Gunna get a win. And also, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share to be aware, put me in that algorithm because I need to be there, man. Because I know there's 10 other streamers out there doing it like me, but...
Fuck that little 10. I'm maxed out.